I never imagined my lowest moment would happen in a grocery store, standing between shelves of cereal and canned soup while the quiet hum of Christmas songs played overhead. I had my little basket clutched in my hands, filled with only what I could barely afford: a loaf of bread, a small carton of milk, and a few apples for my daughter. My paycheck had been delayed, rent was due in 2 days, and I was already calculating what bill could wait another week. The line at the checkout seemed endless, and every beep of the scanner in front of me felt like a countdown to the moment I'd have to face the truth that I didn't have enough to pay. I tried to hide the tears gathering in my eyes, but they betrayed me, slipping down my cheeks as I looked at the total on the screen, higher than I'd expected because of the taxes. I whispered an apology to the cashier and started to pull items out of my bag, my hands shaking, my throat tight. That's when I heard a voice behind me, low, gentle, and filled with something that stopped me cold. "It's okay, sweetheart," he said, "I've got it." I turned around, startled, and saw an older man, maybe in his late 60s, wearing a faded brown jacket and a warm smile that didn't feel forced. His eyes, soft blue with tiny wrinkles around them, reminded me of safety, of the kind of kindness that doesn't ask for anything in return. I stammered, "No, sir, please, you don't have to," but he just shook his head and handed his card to the cashier. "I want to," he said. "You remind me of my daughter." For a second, I didn't know what to say. The words hit me in a place I didn't even realize was still broken. My father had passed away years ago, and there was something in that man's tone, the way he said it so softly, like he meant it from the deepest part of his soul, that brought all my buried emotions to the surface. I blinked through my tears as he paid for my groceries and smiled at me like I wasn't a burden, like I mattered. The cashier bagged my items and whispered, "Merry Christmas," and I could only nod. Outside, the cold air bit at my face as I stepped into the parking lot, and I turned to thank the man again. He was right behind me, carrying his own small bag. "I don't know how to thank you," I said, my voice trembling. "You already did," he replied softly. "Just keep going, that's all the thanks I need." We stood there for a moment, our breath visible in the winter air, and then he told me about his daughter. How she had passed away 3 years ago in a car accident, how she used to come to this very store every week, and how sometimes, when he missed her the most, he came here just to feel close to her. Felt my heart twist. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. He smiled sadly. "She was about your age, same kind of kindness in her eyes. When I saw you standing there, struggling and trying not to cry, it felt like she was telling me to help you." I didn't know what to say. The world suddenly felt smaller, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel so alone. We talked for a while, standing beside his old pickup truck as snow began to fall, not heavy, just light flakes dancing through the cold air. He told me his name was Robert. He lived alone now, just outside of town, and spent most of his time fixing old furniture to keep busy. "She used to help me sand the edges," he said, eyes glistening. "She always said, 'Dad, kindness smooths the rough parts of life.'" I smiled through my tears. "She sounds wonderful," I said. "She was," he replied, "and now she's probably smiling somewhere, knowing her old man got to help someone like her." We said goodbye after that, but something inside me didn't want to just walk away. I don't know what came over me, but I asked if I could give him a hug. His face softened and he nodded, and when I wrapped my arms around him, it felt like hugging my father again, a kind of comfort I hadn't felt in years. He whispered, "Merry Christmas, sweetheart," and when I stepped back, I noticed tears in his eyes too. That night, when I got home, I told my daughter about the kind man who helped us. She was only 6, but she listened wide-eyed, then ran to her room and came back with a little drawing she'd made of 2 people holding hands under falling snow with the words, "Kind people are angels." She asked if we could give it to him somehow. My heart melted. The next day, I drove back to the grocery store, hoping to see him. The cashier recognized him right away and told me he came every morning around the same time. I waited near the coffee machine, holding my daughter's drawing in a small envelope. When he walked in, his eyes lit up with surprise. "Well, look who it is," he said warmly. "I was just thinking about you." I handed him the envelope, and as he opened it, his hands trembled a little. When he saw the drawing, he smiled, the kind of smile that's half joy, half ache, and whispered, "She would have loved this." After that day, we saw Robert often. Sometimes we'd meet for coffee. Sometimes he'd come by the park and watch my daughter play, always telling her little stories about his daughter's adventures when she was her age. Over time, he became part of our lives, not in a grand, dramatic way, but in those quiet, everyday moments that mean the most. He'd fix the broken leg of our kitchen chair, bring apples from his backyard, or just sit with us on the porch while my daughter laughed and drew pictures on the sidewalk. Every once in a while, when I caught him looking at her with that soft, faraway expression, I knew he wasn't just seeing her, he was remembering love. And somehow, through all of it, we both began to heal. Few months later, when my paycheck finally stabilized and life started to find its rhythm again, I decided to give something back. I organized a small community table at the grocery store, a place where anyone who needed help could leave a note and anyone who could help could pick one up. I called it Kindness Corner. The manager loved the idea, and within weeks, people were leaving small notes like "Need help with gas money" or "Can donate canned food." It grew faster than I imagined. One day, Robert came by and smiled at the sign. "You did it," he said. "You made kindness multiply." I told him I just followed his daughter's advice, smoothing out the rough parts of life. That Christmas, nearly a year after we first met, he invited us to his house for dinner. When we walked in, it felt like stepping into a warm memory, the smell of cinnamon and roasted apples, soft lights glowing around the room, and a tree decorated with wooden ornaments. My daughter ran straight to the tree, pointing at one ornament in particular, a small wooden heart with a name carved into it, Sarah. "That was my daughter," Robert said quietly. "She'd be about your age now." My daughter touched the ornament gently and said, "Then she's here too." He smiled, his eyes glistening, and for a moment the room felt like it was glowing from something deeper than light, from love that never really goes away. As we sat down to dinner, laughter filling the space, I realized something. That man who once saved me in a grocery line had become family, not by blood but by choice, by kindness. He never saw me as someone who needed saving, he saw me as someone worth caring about. And because of him, I learned to believe in people again, in small miracles that happen when someone decides to care. So now, every time I stand in a grocery line and see someone struggling, counting coins, sighing softly, I remember him. Sometimes I step forward and do what he did for me. And if they ever ask why, I just smile and say, "You remind me of someone who changed my life."